here for the Bartlett Economic Development Commission meeting of August 14th, 2023. May we have a roll call, Tony?
Yes, Jerry Cabasco,
Here.
Kirsten Erickson, Robert Perry,
Here.
Bruce Sufford, Paul Olson,
Here.
Adam Lewinsky, Robert Gorski,
Here.
and Mike Densford.
Here.
All 8 people, thank you. We have quorum.
Okay, next item on the agenda would be the approval of the previous meetings from June 12th, 2023. We have any discussion on it? Quick second, sounds good.
Sorry? No, I did not have a question.
No discussion, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public comment. We have some people in the audience out there. Anybody wish to make a comment? Okay, you had your chance. Next, we're going to move on to item agenda number 5, which is a BEDA application from Boss's Signature Restaurant. Tony, you want to lead us through it?
I do, thank you, Chairman Cabasco. Gino Mettello is this gentleman you see here sitting in the front row. He recently purchased a property located at 326 South Main Street. We want to specify, because many people have been asking, he owns the north end of Main Street Plaza. I would characterize it as a little bit less than half of the plaza, maybe more like a third of it, size-wise. So the south end of the plaza is 332 to 350 South Main Street, and that is under different ownership, just to be clear. I suspect you'll probably see them before you at some point in the future, but Mr. Mettello owns the north end of that center. So he's also purchased, along with the center, the existing restaurant. Formerly, the restaurant was called the Still Bar and Grill. For any of you who've gone by that building, you've seen that he's been spending the last several months both planning out and then subsequently beginning to renovate that space into a modernized establishment called the Boss's Signature. We met with him and encouraged him over a period of weeks and months. Scott and I and some other staff, he did quite a bit of due diligence looking into what he could do over there and the permitting process, and we told him about the BEDA grant that could help him achieve some of his goals and vision for that space. So we met with him several times in order to encourage him to embark on that purchase and renovations. So again, you see this photo was actually about a week ago. It's changed again since then. It looks a little spiffier than that now. This picture doesn't show, again, the south end, but this shows the portion that Mr. Mettello has purchased and is in the process of renovating. So his application, like many of these BEDA applications that come before you, sometimes there's just 1 or 2 contractors or 3 or 4 things. We've asked him, like we do a lot of people, to turn in anything and everything related to his renovation. And then Scott and I will go through it and kind of determine out of all these documents that were submitted what would be considered a BEDA eligible cost. So I'm going to summarize this quickly, that his application details $276,000 worth of expenditures associating with upgrading the restaurant and the former barbershop space into a modern, attractive, code-compliant restaurant, eating and drinking establishment. He also, as I mentioned, he turned in additional expenditures, some planned improvements to the parking area, which, our BEDA program really addresses interior build-out and exterior facade types of improvements. So we've never really made parking lots, roofs, stuff like that. We would do for HVAC if people were going to do some energy efficient improvements. But anyhow, so not all the costs that he submitted, over $300,000, are included in your packet tonight. There's some that are not. And I just wanted to mention them because it's a significant investment. Also, I want to mention, for those of you who've been on the EDC for a while, you may remember about 5 years ago, the owners of the Still worked on a BEDA application. They started some of the improvements, but they never completed them. The main thing that they actually did was the garbage enclosure outside, which was a condition at the time for our BEDA grant, the first thing the village wanted done. But they never really, honestly, did many more of the improvements. So Mr. Mettello's doing those improvements now, including an area that's becoming dedicated to gaming. So I also wanted to convey to you and then later to the village board that the expenditures directly correlated with gaming are not considered eligible. If somebody just came in for a gaming establishment, we wouldn't consider that as a BEDA program. We do fund our program with those proceeds, but that's not the intention of this program. So his application includes, but is not limited to, I wasn't going to read every single expenditure, but the bulk of the expenditures are to ADS remodeling. Scott and I went in there while they were gutting the space. Yes, it had been a restaurant for years, but again, as you can see by the amount that he's allocating to this, he's using some of the existing infrastructure, you know, some of the ventilation and some of the things that makes it conducive to a restaurant space. But basically, you could look at this project as a gut renovation. So $50,000, another $18,000 to ADS for electric, masonry work. I know you've all seen that going on. $26,000 for furniture. Something that's really exciting that he told us probably last fall when he was contemplating this, to add a brick oven to this, to be the first brick oven pizza place here in town. $26,000 for awnings, a new draft system, a new sign, of course, and lighting improvements. I went through just before the meeting, since that doesn't add up to the number. There's a lot of what I would call just miscellaneous expenditures. You'll see a lot of receipts in there from the Home Depot and from other restaurant equipment purveyors. So basically it adds up to about $250,000. We have apprised him a few months ago. The EDC endorsed a series of updates to the BEDA program. We've apprised the current petitioners, the two that you have before you tonight of these. So we were having them sign an addendum form and just kind of updating them. We're getting background checks, and before anybody gets any BEDA funds from now on, they have to sign an incentive agreement whereby they would have to pay back some portion of it if they default on the business in any way within 2 years. Our recommendation is the maximum amount. As you know, the BEDA program can go up to a maximum of 50% or $50,000. A lot of the restaurant build-outs tend to get towards that $50,000 number. We like to have people spend a certain amount before they get to that, usually $130,000, $150,000-ish. This build-out, you can see, is about double that. So it definitely meets the threshold of the amount of investment that we would be looking for a maximum BEDA grant. So it's 20% of the total build-out costs. When I say build-out costs, again, everything. Electric, plumbing, fire suppression, equipment, seating, from soup to nuts, as they say. So it's gonna look like a new space when you get in there and eat in a couple of weeks or months. I wanted to note that, like several applicants, he did request an excess of that amount. but would, asked about receiving grants for the entity, the corporate entity and the restaurant, but we are viewing this similarly that we would the other restaurant build-outs that we've seen, 120 Live or O'Hare's or something like that. They're all very significant investments, and we're looking at this as comparable to those. So we're looking at this as one cohesive BEDA application to upgrade that, the north end of that center. As I said, he's here tonight. We've been working with him closely, not just our economic development staff, but our building staff. He's been working primarily with them the last few weeks as the work's been progressing. And for those of you who go by that center on a regular basis, you see, the last few weeks, there have been a lot of changes made. So with that, I'll open it for questions for myself or Mr. Mettello, who's here tonight to answer your questions.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mettello. Thanks for coming to Bartlett to make a business. I'd just like to ask you a few questions. Have you been in the restaurant business before, or is this your first endeavor? Okay, couple more questions. What is the square footage of your business? Is that the total square footage? 2,600 square feet? Do you have any idea what your cost per square foot is going to be? Yes. Do you happen to know a property like yours, what would it sell for per square foot? You think it's important to know what it's going to cost you per square foot compared to what other properties here are selling for per square foot? Okay. Do you have an idea of how many pizza businesses are in Bartlett? Okay. Excuse me, did I hear you say that your pizza business is going to be different than other pizza businesses?
Night and day.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Metello, I just have a question. So from the still to the boss, are you still having, because the still was highly regarded, the food and everything, is it the same chef, the same kind of menu, obviously with tweaks and stuff? Or can you talk to a little bit about what that is going to be like?
One of the first things I did when I bought the still, and people were, as soon as they saw the name plus the signature, they were excited about that name, and when they saw fillets on as specials, they thought that there was going to be basically an Italian steakhouse. I don't think we're ready for an Italian steakhouse here in Bartlett necessarily, but what I saw was an opportunity to get to know the residents.
can you talk a little bit to that about like specifically like your vision? I mean, you had the question about, is there a big difference between a brick oven and a regular, I mean, the Neapolitan pizza, you put a brick oven in it, I'm there. So for me, it's a big thing. I totally get the differentiations. But can you speak to that a little bit and what your vision is? You had mentioned Italian Steakhouse. Can you tell me where you see the boss in a year or two? Why should we support this? How, you seem very visionary, and the boss has been very successful. I think we all can agree it looks amazing compared to what it looked like. What is your visionary for making it go to that steakhouse kind of feel?
Sure. That location, the Boston Signature is the beginning part. That piece of property is a great piece of property. It's a property that is easily overlooked because of its aesthetics. However, there is a ton of opportunity there. Underneath that dining room, there is basically another 1,200 square feet down there that we can have a speakeasy, a true speakeasy. A speakeasy where it's not marketed, it's found. So we have that additional opportunity. That center just isn't holding its weight. It needs updating. The neighbor hopefully can follow up with that, which would be great. But what we're looking to achieve over there is not just the restaurant. Doing a little bit more of a higher end speakeasy, welcoming bar, little piano bar, little jazz, I think is a little bit different than what our neighbors do. And as people ask me about competition, I don't talk to them as competition. Me alone will not survive in Bartlett. So I like to think of us as neighbors. And we're working together as neighbors. We can do well, we can achieve a lot. And from my standpoint, bridging the gap between the north and south is what I'm looking to do. So with that piece of property, I think there's a lot of opportunity to attract the Bartlett residents. And just like more, go beyond Bartlett and attract our neighbors. I live in Elgin, the west side, and that west side is always looking for new places. We are very supportive of our strip mall that is just outside of our subdivision. And I think we can do the same thing here if we give Bartlett's residents something to come to, something that's welcoming. And that's what I think I can achieve over there.
Okay, and then my final question is, what does that timeline look like? You knew that was coming.
Yeah, if it was up to me, we'd go for it. But we think that within a couple weeks. So hopefully by the end of the month, we're committing to, in regards to being open now, our carryout hasn't stopped. Our carryout has been very supportive by the residents. And a lot of them come on in when they see 3, 4 cars on the road. They are kind of reminded of the times of COVID, I guess, where
I'd like to say, Mr. Metello, that I'm a big fan for outdoor seating for restaurants. I think it's a big plus. And I have one more question for you, if you don't mind. After you're open, let's say for a month, do you know how many people you'll be employing in your restaurant? So your breakfast, I'm getting the idea, it's more maybe like a morning coffee shop type thing? I'm getting the idea, maybe going towards a European flair type atmosphere. Intriguing.
Well, if there aren't any more discussion, we have a motion to approve the BEDA application.
I would like to motion that we approve the $50,000 for the boss signature. I think he has a substantial investment. I think that we've already seen that there's quite a change. He obviously has a passion for restaurant, and I think that this is a smart move for the village to go ahead and move forward.
Well, I like to see young entrepreneurs come to Bartlett and give them their chance to shine in the sun. So I second it.
You have a vote, Tony?
Yes.
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 Mike Densford,
Yes.
Robert Gorski,
Yes.
Robert Perry,
Yes.
and Jerry Pasco.
Yes.
Carries, and that recommendation will be forwarded to an upcoming village board meeting. And we'll let you know what you think.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to Bartlett.
Okay, our next BEDA application is from Issa's Venezuelan restaurant.
Yes, this is right across the street from here in Bartlett Town Center. There's a space that very briefly you recall was called Trackside Diner, just for really a few months, about 2 years ago. This has been the only vacant restaurant space since then. I can assure you, Scott and I have been beating the bushes trying to attract a restaurant. We don't like to have any empty spaces at all in town, let alone a restaurant right in the middle of downtown. So the space that they're going to be occupying has been part or the entirety of a restaurant space since Town Center was built back here the year I started with the village in 2005. So it's not just us seeking tenants. They have a broker who is working diligently, as well as ownership, trying to bring a restaurant to that space. Just like I've said here many times and will again, you know, when we meet with the prospects as an extra inducement to try to attract them to town, you know, we tell them about the BEDA program as an incentive or an economic development tool that can help kind of ease their way if they have to make some improvements to the center. So for the past several months, I'd say probably since maybe late April, we've been working with Luisa Estrada and Carlo Escalona. They're the owner-operators of Issa's Venezuelan Food. It's currently located just a couple of miles from here. They have a location right off of Lake Street in Hanover Park, basically like across the street from the Village Hall there area. You know, like I said, this didn't come out of thin air. We met with them a bunch of times to talk about the town and to talk about their restaurant. And Scott and I both asked them, you know, what are some of the things that attracted you here to downtown Bartlett that we've been all working so hard to build up for many years. And they cited the village's excellent reputation for safety. I know we've talked about that before during the branding discussions, and we're embarking on branding now with consultants, but without us prompting them, they spoke highly of the village's great reputation for safety, its hometown feel, and then we got to brag to them a little bit about some of the things we've worked on as staff, EDC, and the board over the past few years, an Aldi, more brewing, lots of restaurants coming, like Boss's Signature. We encouraged and apprised them of the BEDA program, like I said. They have had assistance. This is going to be a very unique BEDA application tonight, and with the board that you're going to remember, because the owners are immigrants from Venezuela and speak little to no English, and their manager and one of their highly valued assistants is Johan Malvestuto, and he's been in a lot of the meetings that we've had, both in person and on the phone. He serves as the interpreter. So we've had, every meeting we've had has included an interpreter, and he'll be serving that capacity tonight. So as you can see, their documented costs are significantly less than most of the restaurant build-outs that we've seen, just like the one a few minutes ago that was a total gut rehab. They are, I can't characterize it as totally just using what was there from Trackside Diner, but you could characterize it as using the guts of the restaurant and doing more cosmetic type of improvements. If you could go back again, please. So the $50,000 includes $10,000 to the handyman construction, another $4,000 for plumbing. You can see one of their largest expenditures, really their largest expenditure is for new equipment. Basically I detailed all of the main things that added up to almost $50,000 even. And that's just a few pictures. Again, I like to start including a picture or two for reference. It's worth 1,000 words, as they say. And you can see that they've moved pretty far along, but not completely done with their renovation. So, talking about the recommended amount for this, we felt that about 1/3 of the build-out would be a good number for this. You know, not the maximum 50%, but a higher percentage than you see for some of these other restaurants that, you know, where their expenditures are like $150,000 or more. You know, out of the 50,000 expenditure is still a very significant expenditure for them. I want to mention they've had Issa's restaurant, Venezuelan food, in Hanover Park just for 1 year. This is a much larger space. I don't know if any of you have ever gone over there, but I went there last week. It's what you call a typical strip center, 1,200 square foot space, kind of crowded. I didn't count, maybe 8 or 10 tables. It's in an older strip center. Not to disparage it, but this is a larger space. This has some more elbow room. It'll have room for additional customers beyond what they currently have, as well as outdoor seating. This is not the first restaurant that would be going into this space. So outdoor seating was originally approved, I think, in 2005 for La Dolce Vita is probably the first restaurant I worked with in Bartlett. So they do have a capacity for outdoor seating. One more time, I'm going to tell you that we'll go through the questions you have for them one by one through their interpreter, Johan. But one more thing I put in the memo that I do want to stress. They've been a great pleasure to work with, despite a language barrier. When we ask them to fill out a form, they fill it out. When it has to meet a certain code, they bring it to the certain code. I'm not going to rate it as better or worse than other businesses, but I'll just say that not every business does that. So he's been a very good interpreter, and the owners have been, like I said, a great pleasure to work with. So we're happy to fill our one. I'm not going to say it'll be our last empty restaurant space. Those of you who've been around a while know that. But for at least a minute or a few months, we'll have all our restaurant spaces filled. So any questions for me, you direct to me, and then I'm going to invite Issa's.
Before we get going on that, the 17,000, does it have anything to do with the budget for the year?
No, it does not. It does not.
And then also just eyeballing these receipts, they're a little less detailed than other ones. Specifically, Handyman Construction has a Gmail account, and this ink thing just says signs, $5,000. Did you take a look into the businesses to make sure that all that went through as it should?
We do an audit before they get any money. If it makes to the board level and then it gets approved, we'll do several layers of audit, and we'll call several of the companies that. And then when the permit work starts flowing in, we're able to see that in real time. When the sign goes in and who's doing the sign and things like that. So there are checks and balances that are done prior to any money disbursement.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention, I don't know how far you flipped through it. Did you say for ADS?
No, the ink one. It's just,
Oh, okay. Or, I'm sorry, that was the signage?
yeah, it's just I'm not making any accusations here. It's just less detailed.
Oh, okay.
But I do think it's a great idea, great business for the area too. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, we'll take that under advisement. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we make sure, I always say this disclaimer because a lot of our BEDA grants have only been for signs, that we don't approve any signs here tonight. We just approve estimates, in grand totals. So, but that's good for us to keep the eye on the ball with that one.
To Adam's point, the invoice says handyman, not handyman. So you've got a Gmail address with a, is it handyman, is it handyman, what is it? So it just,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to
No,
reemphasize this point.
That's okay. I will say that every single receipt I've seen doesn't always have the best grammar and spelling, and we'll still rebate it as long as the work is done and paid for. But I can ask them to respell it if you like.
Tony, we know the,
Yeah, right, it
Yeah.
could actually be the name of the,
Yeah.
I'm seeing the name is the same as in the email address.
Yeah. I mean, it has been a language challenge on this one.
To me, the email address matches the name of the business, Hadyman, Hadyman. Not handyman, Hadyman.
exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's probably part of the language barrier.
we know the square footage, Tony, how many seats they're gonna have?
Yeah, I think that's a good question for them, but it's roughly, we've had a few restaurants in there. I think don't quote me exactly, it's about 3,000 square feet, 3,200, something like that. It's roughly 3 times the size of a typical strip retail space. The original restaurant, I can tell you from having worked with many businesses in that space, the original restaurant, La Dolce Vita and then Blue Ribbon, were like 5,600 square feet. They divided that into 2 spaces, one of which became 2 Toots, which is in the ballpark of 2,400, 2,500 square feet. So the remaining 3,000 square feet, that's the entire space that O'Hare's was in. So think of O'Hare's, the O'Hare space, about 3,000, 3,200 square feet. And for seating capacity, I would turn that over to them. I haven't calculated seating capacity.
Could figure it out, 3,000 square feet. They'll have plenty of seating capacity.
Yeah, come on up. This is time for you to answer. Yeah.
I am the owner of the company, Handyman Construction. They are contractor taking care of the project. They are the owners, which is the main owner of that is going to take care of the food. Certification for manipulation of the food of the restaurant. It is smaller, that is not here, impressive, but she will try to teach me, explain what is the goal of the business. Well, the main question I want to answer about my name of my company, the Handyman Construction, it's not business spelling, is because when I opened my company, I was trying to get the Handyman Construction name, but it's not wasn't available. And at that moment, I was building my name like a Handyman Construction like a few years ago. And I got an option to keep it the same name without one letter off. And I decided to remove the N. And I realized mentally that Handyman is like something like one name that representing these 2 ones mean. Like it's like guidance on I'd say accessibility or something like helpful for the people. It's not, I don't have it right now the concept at all, but it's something that have a means in English too, so that is not about construction basically, but can be something that can match in the concept that I want to transmit when I will do my work for somebody that is trying to help somebody. Well, don't take more time about talking my company. I want to give you the introduction of the business for Issa Venezuelan food, because I am like them, Venezuelan people too. I'm working hard in your country, try to make it grow, make it, better, and be part of all the girls that making a very nice job in this place and the whole country at all. Well, I don't know what you want to know about the business. I can try to translate it.
I think one of the questions is how many seats will you have? How many people can dine at one time? How many seats?
200?
100.
100, okay.
Yes. Yeah, because we have around 20 tables, okay, that's gonna be distribution inside the restaurant. And for chairs for each one table, that is gonna be very good space for getting a lot of people going. The thing that I can say from my own experience, because I realized about Issa Venezuelan food was called by me, because I live in the Carlos Spring area, was that one restaurant for my country is here, and the food that we always eat in our country is in the area. And when I went to there, I saw, like Tony says, very small area, like 10 table, that was pretty full. I had to wait a lot of time to get, services. And that was the goal, that we realized they need big space. And the moment they contact me, like a contractor, because I do remodeling for commercial and residential, and I say, okay, I can help you to make it happen in this new store. And I saw that it's a pretty good place, because right now the people can maybe stay enjoying the time, even into the restaurant, more time with his family. You don't want to feel pressure or rush for standing up, because too many people waiting for a table. And like this, the people can stay, getting better, time in the restaurant. That maybe is something that every family is looking for enjoy food. And that's why I part of this project.
Is this location gonna replace? Like, will the other location shut down, or this will be in addition to?
It's gonna be an addition, it's gonna be another one location. We're gonna keep it the same on Hanover Park, and we are planning to open this store as soon as possible. We are very close by to get it done. Even today, we get inspection done, final approved, and we reschedule final inspection for building our department and health department for Friday. Basically, if we have everything okay, we are ready to go away for next week, maybe 2 weeks ahead.
Is the staffing in place if you're ready to open? Is the staffing in place and ready to go?
Yeah, we are planning to get 12 employees for staffing, for kitchen and front desk and the people who are attending every table. I don't know sometimes how I say it's words in English, so you understand me, just in case I say something that is not clear. The other thing that is a small investment for maybe for different business around the area, but for us very, very good investment, and it's a very good idea because something different. I was talking that I was discussing with them before I came here, what is the goal, because I know that we will be taking apart the team. And well, the thing that this food is totally different to the Mexican food. It's not spicy food. Even you can apply spicy if you want, but it's not spicy food. Basically, it's Caribbean food, like Venezuelan, Colombian food. It's very similar to it. And we are glad to share our delicious plates with maybe too many people are gonna stay happy to go and enjoy, because something different in the area that is not, it's gonna be very close by to every neighbor, accessible, or even they are trying to do a bar. They can maybe sell some drinks for the people that like to drink something alcohol. We are working on it, the licensing, everything here. I'm trying to help them to learn everything in the process, because the reviews for them sometimes it's really hard to, communicate and see what is the next step and stuff like that. But I'm so glad to help the people that's coming from my country, because they're the people that we need here, like the people that want to add something helpful for the people, for the neighbors, for the country, for the state, and make it grow and making this place more attractive for the people to stay around. And like you said, people can have an option, different option for at the time.
Got a question about your food. I admit I have not had the pleasure of eating Venezuelan food. My question is this: when I come into your restaurant, what are a couple of things you would recommend to me?
Well, we have a bunch of stuff that is gonna be really, delicious food. We have the more simple food, like the breakfast stuff, the breakfast food that we eat, like our arepas. I don't know if you hear about that. We have empanadas. Venezuelan barbecue is totally different to the barbecue, American barbecue. We have some hamburgers, some sandwich, like it's like a similar, totally different, but very similar to the Subway. But it's more, you know, full stuff, overloading stuff. Maybe something we have something that's called the cake. I don't even know how I'm gonna be this presentation. I recommended to them to bring some chocolate for everybody, but it was good kind of sure. But still, we are trying to show everyone here what kind of food we have. We are trying to offer breakfast, lunch, and even dinners. Like so the people can decide in the morning, go take a breakfast. We have a very good breakfast for all the residents here. Like they would like to try and test. Taste it. It's totally different. And the hamburger, the tacos, Mexicano, it's totally different. That's gonna be something that is gonna for sure stay in the menu for too many people here. That is pretty good food.
What are the target hours of operation?
Well, I was talking to them recently when I was listening to the other interview. I asked him this question, and they say that they want to open between 9 in the morning up to 11 at night.
Say that again? 9 in the morning till when?
11 in the night.
11, okay.
And what would you say like your target audience is? I mean, I get the whole thing with the name, because obviously being a banker, the registration, you've got to change it off. People put a 1 in front of it, or they put an A in front of the name, whatever, to get a very similar name, but, you know, there's only one company that can be registered that way. So who are you going to, like for your marketing, have like your biggest target audience, and how does that feed into like things like DoorDash and catering, and how do you see that evolving for you guys?
She said that the name of the Issa's our location is Issa Restaurant. Issa's Venezuelan food. Sorry. And this store is gonna be different because it's Issa bar restaurant.
Okay.
And they are making something different and separate to our business. That one basically is gonna be like a breakfast, luncheon, and maybe dinner, like no alcohol over there. Over here is gonna be this different day, like it's like you can come with your family, celebrate your birthday, do something more familiar with your family. Over there is something more expressive, but you know, like it's a small time place. They cannot support so many people, but you know, looks like I almost
I've been to your place in Hanover. It's very good. Yeah, I took my kids for ice cream next door to Michoacan, and we walked next door. It's very good, it's very busy. I think it's smart. I mean, Bartlett, being in my business here, there's a lot of Venezuelans here. A lot of Venezuelans.
successful restaurant. I never. That's why I asked him. You ever had it?
Commitment.
And one thing that we, in the coming months, as the holiday season comes up, we start talking about things like Small Business Saturday and Cocoa Crawl, and there's like a little market going on by Town Center now. And we haven't really gotten to that point. So far, we've just been concentrating on nuts and bolts, getting the quotes in, getting the right permits in. I can't say that they're going to be involved with everything, but we're going to do what we can on our side to welcome them into the fold. It is a variety, a new type of concept for Bartlett for sure. And I just wanted to pipe that in too, that it's not all going to be on them. It's mostly on them, but we want to be welcoming and help them get involved with various. It'd be great to see them at like Oktoberfest or something like that. Just out there in the community. I think once people start seeing what empanadas are and arepas, which are two of my favorite items to eat, you might be unfamiliar with the term, but once you eat one, you're gonna like one. So I just wanted to chime in that we're gonna help them with some of the marketing as well.
On behalf of the chamber, we obviously, every new business, we welcome you to join us, and, you know, you get out of us what you put into us, so we would certainly always support and market as well. And Mary is amazing at marketing.
Yes. Oh, Mary from the chamber will be contacting you, trust me. Every new business, Mary's on their door.
Most important thing for us is try to make the stuff right and try to stay, you know, always stay aware what is the rule, what is the step that we have to follow for the development of the business in the area. Even for me, like a contractor, I'm learning a lot. I go in different areas, I always different villages, different rules, different ways to apply, different ways to do inspections. I'm right now, I have 5 years in the United States living. I'm right now getting my license electrician for my own. I'm running my own business, but still I'm learning because the more important thing is try to stay on the right side.
Well, as a citizen of Bartlett, I welcome you. As an American, I'm proud of you.
I really appreciate your work because I work hard for that. And most of the people that's coming from Venezuela is looking the same thing, to stay stable, keep his family safe, and be part of the one community that is the same thing that you. Somebody that wants to be safe, to be honest, and stay in the line with the rules. Okay? That's the same. That's why I decided to stay with them in the side, because I saw that the intention is the same one. I am the guy that always look in the people, what they're looking for, and like the second show was gonna be my friend.
This has less to do with your BEDA application, but I'm just doing some quick math. If you're open 14 hours a day at 6 days a week, I'm just throwing that out there, that's 4,368 hours. You said 12 employees. I'm not sure you're going to, again, I'm just throwing some math out. It has nothing to do with the BEDA application, but I'm just concerned that 12 employees is not enough.
Okay. She said that, well, the 12 for you in the beginning was the minimum staff that they want to hire, because they want to try how it's gonna be the behavior in the area of
Sure.
the customer.
Sure.
But they said that if they need more people, for sure they wanna increase to 16, 18 people, maybe 20, depends of the demands of the work, because they have to do a schedule for morning to afternoon, for, respect the schedule for every employer.
Sure.
Like the law that they said, and they want to try to organize how many people in the process be necessary for the development of the business.
Okay.
There's no further discussion on the matter. We can move for a motion to approve.
I motion to approve
The 17,000?
for 17,000.
Tony, want to take a vote on that?
Give me a second. I'll second the motion.
Oh, I thought it was second already. Somebody was talking.
It's for 17,000.
Okay, Adam Lewinsky. Robert Gorski.
Yes.
Robert Perry.
Yes.
Paul Olson.
Yes.
Jerry Cabasco.
Yes?
Kirsten Erickson.
Yes.
Bruce Suffern. And Mike Densford. Great. Motion carries. And like the person before you, this is a recommendation that will be sent to our village board for their consideration next month. Yep.
Congratulations, welcome to Bartlett.
I also see you soon in the restaurant.
I'll be there.
We have a son who want to take care of making sure we can get here and listen and do this and all. One day for our restaurant, maybe. One day for everybody.
Gracias.
Thank you.
If you want to share it,
Wow.
enjoy.
All right, thank you.
If I want to share it, start it over here.
There'll be crumbs by the time he gets to the other end.
That's right.
Library now since it's after the fact.
Oh, my. All right, I'm just gonna give this a shot.
Hey, new business would be the next agenda item. Tony, you have any new business to discuss?
Well, we didn't meet last month. I think you've seen some of the business activities going around in our downtown. I'm sure everybody saw all the digging they're doing just a little bit south of here. And I'm guessing all of you have already probably patronized. There's a new microbrewery around the corner as well. So I don't have a lot of new business, but I did want to just mention that it's nice seeing these, different types of restaurants coming in for BEDA grants and filling up our empty spaces in our town. And really, our downtown's going to have a real lot of dining options. And I just hope that the next phase of our branding that we started is focusing more on what we think of more as business retention, kind of promoting what we do have. In a few months from now, when it's freezing and cold out, we'll be talking about the economic indicators report. This last February, we were down to like 5% vacancy in commercial or 6% and only like maybe 3 or 2% for industrial. You keep seeing new people coming before you, filling spaces at these meetings. So I just wanted to mention that. It's been pleasurable and a challenge working with all these businesses, but it's nice to see them come to fruition, and that's all I wanted to mention. And with the Aldi, all that digging they're doing, by the way, obviously, I thought maybe it's obvious, that's all for the infrastructure work that they're going to be doing. They dug up almost their whole parking area like the last 2 days. You'll see half the parking lot at Bartlett Plaza dug up. I'm sure Mike has seen that from his front window.
I got a question, Tony. Do you know when they expected to have that done on the corner?
Sorry, when they expect to have all that done?
No, just the corner. Traffic lights in the corner and the turning lanes.
Are you talking about a 59 in West Bartlett?
59 West.
Oh, I was talking about down here at Bartlett.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Streets of Bartlett. You confused me. I don't know the answer to that, but I think maybe.
We're hoping to have it done prior to the summer.
Yeah.
See. Weather is going to be a huge factor in that. I mean, that can, whether,
End of the year?
by the end of this year? No. Yeah, they're hoping probably before next summer.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I don't think they need to market, given the population and given what their current restaurant is doing. I mean, I shouldn't say they don't need to market, that's ridiculous. That's basically brutal on us. Yes, however, to Mike's point, they are killing it there, and when I just mentioned to 2 Venezuelan customers today the name of the restaurant, they all know it. This is a huge exploding population in the area. From my understanding, a lot of people do a lot of catering there and everything. I have yet to run into somebody who has said anything negative about it. Of course, they need to market. I shouldn't have said they don't need to. But I believe with the chamber support and getting the name out, the big thing is going to be the translation of what it is from English to Spanish, but I also think that for the most part, people who go to a different culture restaurant are in for that experience as well as also know a little bit about that language. So I don't see it as a hurdle for them. I think that they're going to be, yeah.
I mean, just about every non-English speaking customer I have,
Uh-huh.
every time. Yeah, it's wild. And the Rana factory over there, they employ a lot of Venezuelans.
Really?
It's,
How big is the Venezuelan population around here?
we're gonna have to, maybe next meeting we could
I
find
have
out.
no idea.
It's very huge. I would say that right now, it probably accounts for my branch, which is considered an affluent footprint financial branch because of who Bartlett is. It accounts for probably about 70% of my new households every single month, month after month, consistently. And the amount of referrals, because I, thank God, have a Spanish-speaking banker, which I'm blessed with, the amount of referrals is ridiculous. It is the most referred culture on earth. As long as you do well by them and you do right by them, you will have their family and their business for forever. So Daniel doesn't even need to do anything, and people just keep flooding to him. Yeah. I think that they're going to be pretty busy.
We really hope so. They're, like it said in the report, they're very hardworking, they're very diligent, and this Johan does a great job of translating everything for them. So, we wish them the best.
How is he involved? Is he just an
Contractor.
interpreter, or is he
Well, he's their
have a share?
general contractor and friend of the family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they have one other person who's in their management system who speaks some English as well. But every meeting I have with them, there's translators. I haven't taken Spanish for 30 years.
Is Coco Crawl still on for this year?
Yeah, as far as I know, I think they had a meeting.
Yeah, I don't have the date right on the top of my head, but yeah, we are planning on having it again this year. We've had some new businesses that have come into town that have also reached out about it, who are excited to join in this year.
Good, good event.
No further new business, we can move to adjourn. All in favor?